you, and we can ask a question for Chevy. We'll start with Sean in the nice blue suit.
Kevin, what did you get from the organization in this trade?
Well, obviously we're very excited about the pieces that we acquired. I managed to have a conversation with all of them today, and told them that it was an important step for our organization to add some depth and dimension. I think that we've got two younger players that I think are just starting to come into their own, have a tremendous amount of ability to grow, as hockey players. Especially in Vilardi's situation where he missed some very important years in the development world, and we all know how development takes different shapes and forms and ebbs and flows and curves. And in his particular situation, when you lose those kind of years, it takes some time to grow your game. And I think we really saw last year, his coming out party as far as what he brings to the table, and look forward to having him continue to grow. And Rasmus was another player that when we go back and look at the history of our draft lists, and we had him in his draft here ranked very high. We didn't have a pick that year, and so again, it's excited to get a player that can grow. And Alex, we get a player that brings a lot of different things to an organization. His on-ice stuff is really good. He's a good two-way player, brings lots of different aspects of the game to from a player standpoint there. But we've heard great things about him as a person, great things about him as a character teammate, and so real excited to have that. And then the opportunity to get the second round pick gives you the chance to continue to build for the future.
Does this in any way signal maybe a slight shift in philosophy on how you're going to build a team, how you're going to create a team that competes?
Well, we've got a lot of good pieces, obviously, and I think if you take a step back, obviously we didn't achieve what we had sought out to last year is go deeper into the playoffs and ultimately try to win. There's lots of things that came into play there for various different reasons that unfortunately we couldn't replicate our game one success and find a way to maybe win that game two and sneak out the overtime win. But we had some adversity along the way as well with some of our key players. So we think again, we do have good pieces, and we wanted to surround them. But the players that we got are players that have a capacity to grow and have the ability to become even better than what they are and contribute more. And it said like I meant, depth and it gives us an opportunity to have many different options. Vilardi can play center, can play wing, so can Rasmus. So again, there's lots of real positives that we feel we gained.
You've shown you're an organization that develops your prospects extremely well. When you take guys like this who are coming in, you talk about the progress they've made, coming out under Todd McClellan, you're a defensive actor when it comes to that. But I'm interested in, when you take a look at them in the development they've made, is the Winnipeg Jets style of getting what you can out of these players provide some maybe opportunity there that they wouldn't have seen in LA that they can't see in Winnipeg?
Well, I think, obviously, every organization has different pieces, and players, when they're younger, players maybe have to get put in certain spots, and there's players over top of them. I think, these players here have an opportunity to play with maybe a different style of player, with maybe a different slotting in a lineup, and obviously for a coach now that needs to get to know them and find out what they're all really about. There's going to be time for all those kind of conversations between Bones and the players, and then obviously we'll see what happens with some other things as we move forward here. You got free agency coming up around the corner as well, so it's an exciting step for us.
Go ahead, Murat.
Does that maybe signal a little bit what you might be looking for $100
there's lots of conversations obviously at this time of the year. You can never really handicap what really transpires and doesn't transpire, what's available, what's not available. I think there's uniqueness in the marketplace right now where we're entering into another year of essentially a flat cap. I think there's lots of things that go on, just making a trade for that you used to be able to make when you knew the cap was going up a couple $1 million, you know, I think teams are looking at things differently in a lot of different respects. So sometimes teams need to move money, sometimes teams are flush with picks and prospects, and sometimes it's the opposite. So you know, it really comes down to opportunity meeting reality, and if there's something that works, then you strike.
With some of those other players in the game, moving money seems to be a challenge around the NHL. Will you be looking to buy out Blake?
So there's obviously we're looking at all our options with Blake, and you know, buyout is one of the options that you know, that we are looking at. But you know, sometimes you can get creative in this game as well, and you know, you're looking at all the different options before you make your final decisions.
With respect to Scheifele and Hellebuck, who are under great contracts in terms of their cap hit right now, is it easier for you with a one-year deal left on your team, or something to extend it?
You know, again, it's each situation is different in its own individual right, and you know, for us, you know, Helly and Scheif are big parts of our franchise, and again, at this time of the year, I know it's an uncomfortable thing where, you know, there's lots of different conversations that, you know, that do go on, but you know, for us right now, our focus is that, you know, they're Winnipeg Jets, and we're looking forward to moving forward with them.
Just going to the trade with LA, what's the level of disappointment that things didn't work out with you? You acquired him, obviously wanted to keep him for a long time. Where are you going to follow him on how this is going to go?
Well, you know, again, it's in this game here, players obviously at a certain point in their careers get choices, and they earn those choices, and you know, you'd have to ask Pierre-Luc, you know, in his mind why he made the decisions that he made. But you know, for us as an organization, you know, you have to take chances, you take swings at things. Some of them work, some of them, you know, you have to pivot and move in a different direction. I do believe that you know, this opportunity that we had to acquire these players, you know, does serve our organization very well. Like we're a much deeper team. We have, you know, again, our first, you know, kind of top nine now has a lot of different kinds of players that, you know, can come in and contribute in a lot of different ways. So, you know, again, it'll give an opportunity for a player like Cole Perfetti to, you know, to grow. You know, he was a top 10 draft pick for us, and as a centerman, and this is an opportunity, and that's what's important. I think when, you know, when we look at the evolution of franchises, you look at the development of franchises, you know, everyone can say play the young players, but you have to have the opportunities in front of them, and that's, you know, those are things that, you know, sometimes you have to move players, sometimes you have to do different things in order to offer those opportunities, and now to be up to a player like Cole to take it.
And you mentioned free agency. Just a general question: where do you see the market? In years past, with big names, not many big names. Do you think these big dates like July 1st, trade deadline, are losing a bit of their luster just because of the flat cap? It's not hard to make things happen.
You know, I think what really makes it difficult is, you know, again, a lot of different mechanisms within the system. Obviously, the cap is the the ceiling that you all have to work with. But there's LTI money in there. There's arbitrations, you know, there's lots of different things where, you know, you have to prognosticate. Like, you know, I think there's probably going to be situations where players aren't going to get qualified because their ARB number just, you know, isn't good, and you know, so those are things that, you know, as management, you're always pondering, you're always looking at. You've got your own RFA situations where, you know, sometimes you have to bridge a player, but is that always the best thing, or is it better to go long term? You know, so that's where I think the free agency, situation, it ebbs and flows. But I think you look at a lot of teams trying to lock up, you know, players as long as they can. And again, some players want to get locked up, some players don't. You know, selling free agent years is not, you know, what some players want to do. So, you know, again, it's an interesting time. It's a fun time to be a part of it, and you know, especially today when you have an opportunity for the draft. It's you know, this is where again you sit in your final meetings with your scouts, and you know, you start to really hear the passion in their voices for some players. You know, that's what this is about.
Hi, everyone. Here, Derek with NHL.com. Just want to ask you about, you feel your team is still in that championship window, and if you have to make some moves, you're doing it based on trying to, you know, win now mode type of thing?
Well, I think you're always trying to win now. Obviously, there's, we've got some, again, I said in the onset here, we've got some good pieces. I think winning is an interesting dynamic. I think, you look at a team like Florida, just case in point, 2 years ago, they were the most active team at the trade deadline, trading picks, trading players, trading for everything. And obviously, didn't have the success that they want last year. I could be mistaken, but I don't believe they made a significant deadline deal trade. And lo and behold, they go to the Stanley Cup final. So again, I think, and I met with the coaches yesterday, and we had lots of discussions about the players that we acquired. And for coaches, they want to know who's their team, and then they start talking about how do we put it together, how do we win, how do we, what's our angle, what's our approach going to be? Do we have to tweak some systems? Like this is the group we have. Can we play like this, or do we need to play like this? That's the fun part of coaching, I think, because when you see them starting to talk and, like scribble in lines and scribble out lines, like, that's their fun times. And so you got to get a team to, be better than they are in September. You got to get them to be better, by the end of it in April. And that's what coaches do. And that's what having younger players potentially in your lineup gives you that opportunity, because they have the capacity to go from here to here in a season, whereas some veteran players, they're more ready-made. They're what you see is kind of what you get. So that's the excitement I think that I felt yesterday talking with the coaches.
Wrap it up with us over there.
Hey, Kevin, how would you characterize how busy you've been, now that the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade is done, talking to your colleagues about Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele, and if those deals are not made, how comfortable are you with those players coming back and expiring contracts next season?
Well, I think I just said it. I said, they're Winnipeg Jets, and for us, they're big parts of our organization, and we'll look at everything that comes to us, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're jumping at anything. And again, I saw Helly at the awards ceremony the other night, and again congratulated him on obviously getting to be where he was to receive that nomination honor, and I talked to Scheif's representatives as well over the course of the last couple of days. Told them, like, look, we're listening, but obviously it's got to make sense for the Jets, because these are good players and these players can help us win.
As it pertains to this weekend, you added the second rounder for next year in the Dubois trade. With the quality of the player in this draft, have you considered, you're looking to potentially add another pick tonight or early tomorrow?
Again, it'll depend on what the opportunity is. Some guys are looking to move up. Some teams are looking to move back. We don't have a second round pick right now to really be a team that looks at packaging something to move up. But we're at 18, so it's an interesting prognostication, I guess, when you sit there and you try to.
Or training camp, or is that sort of a wait and see?
No, potentially. Again, it's. Everyone talks about making trades. There's, the fit's got to be there for both sides. I think that, one thing that, we've, been able to do is grow some young defensemen to the point where, we have to make some decisions, on them. We do have a good veteran core of guys. We do have, young players like Sandberg and Heinola and Stanley and Chisholm, as you had mentioned. So I think it's a good situation to be in. What ultimately will be at training camp, there's a lot of runway before that. Thanks very much.